In a land of sunshine where the palm trees sway, there's a special show to brighten up your day. From rockin' festivals to Broadway dreams, tune in with Bonnie G. It's a desert scene. The desert scene with Bonnie G. Meet the stars and feel the beat. From the Coachella Valley is the place to be, for all the culture, fun, and harmony. The desert scene, yeah, with Bonnie G.
Mutual Broadcasting welcomes you to the Desert Scene, featuring conversations with the people who make culture, art, and entertainment happen in the Coachella Valley. From local theater to live music, art exhibits to cinema and beyond. Now, here is your host, Bonnie G.
Welcome to the Desert Scene. So happy to have you here today, and very happy to welcome to the show John Corr, a local actor who's won several awards and very well respected. And he's part of the cast of God of Carnage, which will be opening March 14th at Desert Ensemble Theater. Hey, John, how are you?
Hi, Bonnie. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So let's go back and start early. We'll come back up to the current show. You was reading about you. You went to Notre Dame and originally studied math and chemistry, but then started doing theater and decided to switch your major to TV, film, and theater. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, much to my parents' chagrin, I sort of pivoted deep into my college career. I was originally very much a book like math and science guy, but then I realized I was spending all of my time and energy pursuing like student theater work and all that kind of stuff. So I decided buckle down, start taking it seriously. And
so was it real? Were your parents very upset? Was this like a big crisis at the time?
No, they're really supportive of my decisions. My mom was a little concerned that I was just bailing on the hard book stuff in favor of the fun theater stuff. But yeah. I think in the long term, it's turned out to be a really good choice for me. I'm a lot happier.
So once you finished with college, what was the sequence of events that brought you out here?
Right. So right out of college, I moved to Portland, Oregon, and I did some post-grad education at the Actors Conservatory. And I was like active in the local theater scene in Portland, Oregon. But then COVID shut down. My partner and I decided to move here. And I was pleasantly surprised by how quickly the theater scene here picked up after that. And it's been great.
So what made you choose, I'm glad you did, but what made you choose the Palm Springs area?
We had already been the types who had visited before, and we had friends that were moving down here. So we kind of felt like we had a little bit of a landing pad. And when everything was shut down, there was nowhere better to be than sunny Palm Springs.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how did you kind of jump into the theater scene right away?
Yeah, for sure. The guys over at Desert Rose Playhouse, former Desert Rose, I met them out and about, and they said, oh yeah, well, we're doing our first play out of shutdown pretty soon. And so I was lucky enough to be cast in that. And then Jerome at Desert Ensemble reached out from there. So yeah, it all kind of happened very quickly.
Now, are you someone who is lucky enough then or now to kind of make your living doing this, or do you have sort of a nest egg on the side? Or I always like to call it jobs. Some people have jobs where they, wait tables on the side or write grants or whatever it is.
Right. No, I definitely do have a job. I have a full-time career in client services and account management for like branding and design. I work with that. An agency that does like rebranding for packaged goods.
Okay. And tell us about, I always love to ask actors about their process. So when you are cast in a role in a play, do you have a certain steps that you take? I know some people say, well, I start with the voice or I start with the look or whatever. Do you have a certain process that you go through?
Well, it sort of depends on like character to character, because some characters I see and hear myself very clearly in from the very beginning. And so that is like a pretty solid foundation, and we just kind of play from there. But I really find that physical stuff is very helpful for me. So when I was in theater school, we learned psychological gesture and effort shapes and different like mindsets that you can give your character around their physical life. And that usually is kind of my way in to find anything that's particularly different from myself.
And I know a lot of people ask, I'm a stage actress as well, but a lot of people ask sometimes, how do you memorize all those lines, especially if you have a major part or you have like a big, several long monologues? Do you have a certain trick that you use as far as memorizing?
I'm lucky that I haven't had to rely on any tricks yet. My brain I describe as very sticky. So once we start going on something, stuff usually sticks. But I will say it is significantly easier with well-written plays. If the dialogue doesn't like naturally make sense in my brain, I do have a much harder time memorizing versus like really good conversation just flows. Once you've sort of learned the lines, it just happens.
And let's talk about, I know you've won a couple of Desert Theater League awards. One was for Kafka's Joke, which I saw, which you were fabulous at Desert Ensemble. Tell us about Kafka's Joke, about that process, and then we'll get into God of Carnage.
Yeah, so Kafka was a really fun one. It was an ensemble of 5, and it was a brand new play. So we kind of had a full free range to be creative with how we developed it. And Jerome was really supportive of me sort of going a little bit weirder with the character. This is one where I like really kind of worked on gestures and sort of his physical life to really try and portray a mindset that is a little bit heightened. Like he wasn't behaving quite like a real human all the time, which I just thought served the play really well. And I was really happy with how it was all received.
All right, let's talk about God of Carnage. So I was reading about this. So there are 2 couples, and the son of one couple, I guess, injures or hurts the son of another couple in the park, and they meet to talk about this. So tell us a little bit more about the story.
Right. So the play all happens over the course of one evening. My wife, Lizzie, and I invite this other couple over to our home, and their son has hit ours with a stick on the playground and knocked out 2 of his teeth. So it's like a pretty serious injury,
That's
parenting
pretty serious.
moment, right? But so Lizzie's character, my wife, takes it very seriously and wants to sort of guide this other couple on how they're going to parent their child. And you can imagine that that's not necessarily received with open arms.
Right.
And so it's a really fun play where the sort of the tension levels, we start as very reasonable adults here to discuss this rationally. And over the course of the evening, everyone becomes childish in their own way and petty. And
Is there alcohol involved in this evening?
there may or may not be some alcohol consumed over the course of the evening.
Okay. And so it's yourself, Lizzie Schmeling, Yo Younger, and who else is in the cast?
David Yaus is playing Yo's husband. And he has actually directed me in the past, but I've never gotten to work with him as an actor. I am floored watching him work. He has a lot of phone calls that I think are just wildly excellent already.
It's a very strong cast. Now, had you worked with any of them as an actor before in an ensemble piece?
Yes, I was lucky enough that one of the first shows I did in the desert was the Miss Firecracker contest.
Oh, yes, that was fun, yes.
Yo was one of the main roles, and I got to come in as sort of like a featured role in the second act. And so one of the first times I was on stage in the Valley, I got to act with Yo Younger, who's obviously an incredible like tour de force.
Yeah, Yo's wonderful.
Lizzie was the Sally Bowles in the production of Cabaret that I got to do over at the McCallum.
I missed that one, but I heard, it was tremendous. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, and she particularly is just a star.
Yeah. Do you have a bucket list, a certain play or certain role or roles that you'd really, really like to do at some point in your career?
I am a huge Sondheim fan. And so a lot of his lead roles, I just would love the opportunity to tackle. I love musical theater. So like a lot of my dream roles tend to be the musical theater roles. But I also really just appreciate the Desert Ensemble keeps coming up with these interesting plays to be doing because, you got to love the good, toothy, dramatic comedy stuff too.
Yeah, I noticed one of your DTL awards was a musical, right? The last 5 years. So was singing something that you always did, or did you sort of delve into that in college as well?
Well, I picked it up when I was in high school, and really just in the chorus. I sing bass most of the time, which is not necessarily doesn't lend itself to solos or musical theater all that often, but it's really good for choral singing. So my music background was all in choruses in high school and college. And then as I started diving more into theater, I just tried to develop enough of a solo presence to start doing musicals. And
do you study a lot, still study privately as far as vocal?
No, I don't take any like private lessons or anything. I just, I sing with the Modern Men Chorus and try to keep up my chops that way.
And now has your family, I'm assuming, been supportive all this way through, and are they surprised at all at your success in the performing world?
Yes and yes. They have been wonderfully supportive the whole time, and I think still haven't quite like wrapped their brains around the fact that I'm like actually doing what I said I was going to do. But yeah, they all live sort of back in the Philadelphia area on the East Coast, so every now and then they make their way out and get to see me do something, and it's always a pleasant surprise for them to, watch me be so happy and have
That's
these
great.
opportunities.
Yes, that's always a plus. So you open March 14th. Tell us a little about the run, where do you get tickets, and all that good stuff.
Yep. So the run is over 2 weekends. So it's the 14th through, I think, the 23rd. Desert Ensemble dot or D. Now I'm going to get it wrong.
I think it's Desert Ensemble Theater.org, I believe.
Yes, desertensembletheater.org. For all the tickets, we run Thursday, Friday. Jeez, I'm going to get it wrong now. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the 2 weekends. Get your tickets. It's going to be great. And I am hoping and thinking that we're going to sell pretty well.
I think so. It's a great cast, and all four of you are known in the desert, and people. So I think they can sell out pretty quick. Well, congratulations, John Corr, God of Carnage. I'm going to come see it. It sounds fabulous, wonderful cast, and really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and we'll see you all the next time on the Desert Scene.
The Desert Scene with Bonnie G. Meet the stars and feel the beat. From the Coachella Valley, it's the place to be. For all the culture, fun, and harmony. The Desert Scene, yeah, with Bonnie G. The Desert Scene's where you belong with Mutual Broadcasting's Bonnie G. Just sing along. Just sing along.